Mu Chen stood in midair, one arm glowing with lightning liquid, the thunder pattern seemingly growing from his muscles, radiating a terrifying sense of power. His other hand tightly gripped the dragon-devouring demonic spear, the spear held straight and horizontal, with an ancient stone seal perched on its tip. On his chest, 6 faint thunder patterns flickered, and the violent power, like a thunderclap, surged within him. As his muscles vibrated, the air around him seemed to crackle with energy. The physical strength he now possessed had reached a terrifying level. Mu Chen's Thunder God body had reached the 6th Thunder Rune body stage. This was the benefit he gained from enduring the divine Wood Gang Thunder Sea with his physical body earlier. He exhaled. A white vapor mixed with faint thunder rumbled from his mouth, lightning flashing within it. His eyes gleamed as if thunder itself was being born within them, radiating an indescribable pressure. He fixed his gaze on Blood Tiandu, whose face had turned a little ashen. Mu Chen's expression remained indifferent. Had his physical body not broken through to the 6th Thunder Rune body level, a direct clash with Blood Tiandu might have been challenging. But no one could have predicted that after enduring the divine Wood Gang Thunder, his Thunder God body had made another breakthrough. The 6th Thunder Rune body was enough for Mu Chen to withstand any first-level Divine Soul Tribulation expert head-on. It seems this treasure has no fate with you, Mu Chen said with a faint smile. Blood Tiandu's eyes darkened as he stared at Mu Chen, but beneath the darkness, there was a tinge of genuine wariness. Initially, he had not considered Mu Chen as his equal, but now he had to revise that view. He could sense the pressure emanating from Mu Chen. His physical body had grown stronger since before, so much so that even Blood Tiandu couldn't afford to ignore it. You've got some ability, Blood Tiandu said grimly. The strength of your physical body. To bring it to this level, among everyone of your generation I've encountered, in terms of raw physical strength, you could probably rank in the top 10. Mu Chen smiled. Thank you for the compliment. But Blood Tiandu's eyes seemed to swirl with blood, as if an ocean of blood was flowing within them. No matter how strong your body is, it's still limited. Mu Chen didn't respond immediately, instead shifting his gaze elsewhere. In another direction, Luo Li and Xun'er were also being blocked by opponents, but due to their astounding power, the obstacles they faced were far less than those Mu Chen encountered. As a result, when Mu Chen obtained the Mystic Tortoise Seal, the two women were also able to claim the treasures they had selected. Luo Li held a jade ruler in her hand, its body a rich emerald green, engraved with intricate patterns. Looking closely, it resembled the shape of various herbs, exuding a strong vitality. In Xun'er's hand was a greenish wooden vine, ancient and smooth, resembling a rope of green in color. Clearly, the treasures in their hands were no ordinary items, and their appearance alone was even more eye-catching than the Mystic Tortoise Seal Mu Chen obtained. As Luo Li and Xun'er succeeded in acquiring their treasures, the remaining 7 items began to fall into the hands of others after a series of struggles. However, treasures were limited, and most people ended up empty-handed, which made them exceedingly dissatisfied but helpless. With all 10 treasures now in someone's possession, the earlier intense battle began to ease. But the atmosphere remained tense, with many eyes still scanning the area, like hawks waiting for their moment. Wang Zhong, Mou, and others looked the most displeased. When Mu Chen had clashed with Blood Tiandu, they had engaged with Luo Li and Xun'er, but the outcome was clear. The two women were, in some ways, even fiercer than Mu Chen. Though they had given their all, they still ended up being bested by the women and were left empty-handed. As for Wu Yingying and the Four Seas Spiritual Academy, they had wisely refrained from engaging in the most intense battles, instead focusing on the relatively weaker treasures. When the fighting ended, they each managed to secure one, though only supreme-grade spiritual artifacts, but it was still a decent haul. Blood Tiandu fixed his gaze on Mu Chen, Luo Li, and Xun'er, his eyes flickering with sharp light. If it was just Mu Chen he had to deal with, he was confident he could handle it. But once Luo Li and Xun'er were added into the mix, even someone as arrogant as him had to admit that retreat would be his only option. Mu Chen, don't you think you've gone too far? As Blood Tiandu's gaze flickered, a cold voice suddenly rang out from the side. Everyone turned to see Wang Zhong glaring fiercely at Mu Chen. There are only 3 semi-divine artifacts here, and yet, you've taken them all. Are you planning to leave us all empty-handed? Wang Zhong's words were sharp and venomous. After all, there were far more competitors than artifacts, and with Mu Chen, Luo Li, and Xun'er together, their combined strength was formidable. At this point, no single party would have an advantage if they went up against them. So Wang Zhong was doing everything in his power to isolate them. The entire plaza stirred at this moment, and those unwilling to accept the situation couldn't help but cast their eyes toward Mu Chen and the others, their gazes filled with both fear and greed. Heh, Wang Zhong is right, Mou sneered. His hatred for Mu Chen ran deep, and seeing the 3 semi-divine artifacts in Mu Chen's possession made him even more envious. Without hesitation, he added fuel to the fire. Mu Chen, you can't be too greedy. Otherwise, you might end up choking on your own ambitions. Mu Chen, it seems you have quite a few enemies, Blood Tian-Du remarked with a grin, savoring the scene before him. Mu Chen remained expressionless, while Luo Li and Wen Qingxuan's faces grew even colder. The 2 women stepped up to Mu Chen's side, their sharp gazes sweeping over the crowd, radiating icy hostility. Friend, it seems you also have a grudge against Mu Chen. How about we team up? Wang Zhong, seeing Wen Qingxuan's frosty stare, shuddered inwardly. He had always been wary of her, so he quickly shifted his gaze to Blood Tian-Du from their previous encounter with Mu Chen. He could tell that Blood Tian-Du was strong, having reached the first divine soul tribulation stage, someone not to be underestimated. Heh, I'm quite interested, Blood Tian-Du chuckled, nodding slightly. Wang Zhong's suggestion suited him perfectly. After all, he knew that with just his own forces, it would be hard to take down Mu Chen and the others. Wang Zhong's eyes lit up upon hearing this. He knew just how difficult Mu Chen was to deal with. After all, Mu Chen had defeated a war puppet at the Spirit Treasure Mountain that had reached the first Divine Soul Tribulation stage. If Blood Tian-Du could handle him, that would be the best outcome. Heh, friends from the Martial Spiritual Academy and 4C's Spiritual Academy, are you interested in joining forces? I'm sure the semi-divine artifacts would be worth it, right? After bringing Blood Tian-Du into the fold, Wang Zhong looked toward Wu Yingying in the 4C's Spiritual Academy, clearly trying to rally everyone to take down Mu Chen. Wu Yingying and the 4 captains of the 4C's Spiritual Academy exchanged looks, their faces subtly changing. Wu Yingying glanced at Mu Chen, who still appeared calm, though the lightning flashing around his body betrayed the anger and killing intent he was suppressing. You've already brought 2 parties on your side. If you add us to the mix and then manage to snatch those 3 semi-divine artifacts, how will the spoils be divided? Do we fight again? Wu Yingying said, her tone calm but sharp. At this, Wang Zhong's expression shifted slightly. Wu Yingying's words were biting, leaving him speechless. After all, there were only 3 semi-divine artifacts, and someone like Wang Zhong would never be willing to leave empty-handed. So even if they dealt with Mu Chen and his team, there would still be a fight over the division of the artifacts. The 4 captains from the 4C's Spiritual Academy exchanged glances before shaking their heads. Sorry, Wang Zhong, but we have no intention of getting involved. Those semi-divine artifacts are rare, they're not meant for us, so we won't force it. They politely declined Wang Zhong's invitation. It was clear to them that whether it was Mu Chen or Wang Zhong's group, neither side was easy to handle. While they had some strength, getting involved in a conflict of this level wouldn't benefit them. And as Wu Yingying had pointed out, even if they took down Mu Chen, they still might not get their hands on the semi-divine artifacts. It could end up being a wasted effort, only to benefit someone else. Wang Zhong's face darkened, and he shot a furious glare at Wu Yingying. It was her sharp words that made the others rethink their plans and back off. Wu Yingying ignored him. She crossed her arms, her figure exuding a seductive yet deadly grace. She shot a cold glance at Mu Chen, then huffed, "You can go after whoever you want." Mu Chen smiled and threw a grateful glance at Wu Yingying. He knew that her earlier words had quelled many of the suspicious thoughts others had. However, Wu Yingying, in response to his grateful look, maintained a frosty expression, ignoring him completely. Wang Zhong's face turned a dark shade as he withdrew his gaze and sneered. "We don't need you. This is enough." As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his sleeve, and a flash of light appeared. A massive statue emerged in the middle of the plaza, a wood god guard. Judging by the fluctuations of power around it, its strength was likely on par with the wood god guard that Mu Chen and his team had obtained. Mou, seeing this, chuckled and snapped his fingers. Another wood god guard appeared in a flash. "Since everyone else has summoned theirs, I won't hold back either," Blood Tian-Du said lazily, a smile creeping onto his face. With a wave of his hand, another identical wood god guard appeared. The entire plaza fell silent for a moment. People's gazes were filled with shock as they stared at the 3 wood god guards. No one had expected that Wang Zhong, Blood Tian-Du, and Mou would each possess such powerful trump cards. Mu Chen observed the 3 wood god guards with a slightly narrowed gaze. It seemed that every team that had obtained the Wood God token also got a Wood God guard. If that was the case, then just these 3 Wood God guards alone were as formidable as 3 first-level Divine Soul Tribulation experts. Adding in Blood Tian Du, Wang Zhong, Mou, and the others, their lineup could indeed cause real trouble. Things had just gotten more complicated. The 3 towering Wood God guards stood in the plaza, their massive forms casting shadows that enveloped the area. The invisible pressure they emitted made many people's faces tense, eyes full of wariness. No one had anticipated that Wang Zhong, Blood Tian Du, and Mou would have such powerful trump cards. One Wood God guard was as strong as a first-level Divine Soul Tribulation expert. This kind of power was enough to completely overwhelm an elite team. And now, they had 3 of them. Many looked toward Mu Chun and his companions, but saw little panic in their expressions. Clearly, they had anticipated this. This made the onlookers secretly excited. Originally, they had favored Mu Chun, Luo Li, and Wen Qingxian in the upcoming conflict, especially since Wen Qingshuan's previous reputation as the top competitor made her a figure to be reckoned with. But now, with the sudden appearance of 3 Wood God guards, that balance had been shattered. 3 first-level Divine Soul Tribulation experts were not easy opponents to deal with. It seemed that this conflict was destined to be a fierce battle. Mu Chun, looks like things aren't always under your control, Wang Zhong said, grinning as he looked at Mu Chun. The presence of 3 Wood God guards filled him with confidence. He couldn't believe that, with such overwhelming advantages, they wouldn't be able to suppress Mu Chun and his team. Mu Chun's face remained calm. His gaze swept across the scene before slightly tilting his head to look at Luo Li and Wen Qingxian. He spoke softly, "Let me handle Blood Tian Du." Among the 3 factions, Blood Tian Du was clearly the strongest, and facing him would undoubtedly be the most difficult challenge. Though Luo Li and Wen Qingxian were both quite formidable, as a man, Mu Chun felt it was his responsibility to step up in this situation. "Can you handle him?" Wen Qingxian glanced at Blood Tian Du. He was indeed the most dangerous of the group. Although Mu Chun had the upper hand in their previous skirmish and had taken the stone seal, that victory had largely been due to his physical strength catching Blood Tian Du off guard. Now, with Blood Tian Du on high alert, the outcome of another fight was hard to predict. "Don't ask a man that question. Even if he can't, he'll still push forward," Mu Chun replied. Wen Qingxian froze for a moment. Then, as if thinking of something, a faint blush appeared on her pale face. She shot Mu Chun a glare and said, "Lecherous fellow." Mu Chun was taken aback, but then seemed to understand something. A strange smile crept onto his face as he teased, "I was talking about face. What were you thinking?" Wen Qingshuan's face flushed a deep red, like the sunset. She gripped her golden war spear tightly, her teeth grinding together. "Say that again and see what happens." Seeing Wen Qingxian on the verge of losing her temper, Mu Chun quickly flashed a smile and didn't dare provoke her further. "How should we distribute the tasks?" Luo Li was already immune to the bickering between the 2, and could only helplessly remind them of the task at hand. "Leave that Blood Tian Du and his Wood God guard to me." Wen Qingxian snorted coldly, her phoenix-like eyes flashing with icy intent. Her delicate face was full of murderous intent, clearly irritated by those who dared cause trouble for her. Did they really think that just because she no longer ranked first on the score ranking, they could act without fear? Luo Li glanced at Wen Qingxian, well aware that Blood Tian Du was the toughest among these opponents. Wen Qingxian had chosen him first, clearly to lessen the pressure on them. She then turned her gaze to Mu Chun, who was focused on Blood Tian Du, but slowly shook his head. "What do you mean by that?" Wen Qingxian asked, her tone laced with displeasure. "Can you hold them off for a while?" Mu Chun asked softly. Both Luo Li and Wen Qingxian were momentarily stunned, casting puzzled looks at Mu Chun. But soon, both strong-willed women seemed to understand, their eyes narrowing. "You want to set up a spirit array, don't you?" Mu Chun nodded slowly. "Your spirit arrays, are they reliable?" Wen Qingxian couldn't help but ask. However, as soon as the word reliable slipped out, her face flushed, and she quickly corrected herself. "I mean, are they really effective? More reliable than mine." Mu Chun held back a smile, speaking seriously. Wen Qingxian shot him a glance, then responded indifferently, "In that case, I'll trust you this once. Luo Li and I will hold them off." But if your spirit array doesn't work as expected, the rest of the battle will be entirely under my control, and you'll follow my orders." Mu Chen was momentarily stunned. He looked at the girl before him, her delicate features shining with charm, then smiled and nodded. "I'll work quickly." Mu Chen nodded, then with a wave of his sleeve, a wood god guard appeared. "This wood god guard will help alleviate some of the pressure. Be careful." Luo Li and Wen Qingxian exchanged a look before both nodding slightly. The two then moved, appearing on either side of the wood god guard's shoulders. One held a golden battle spear, the other a longsword, their figures poised as the wind blew their hair. The scene exuded a breathtaking beauty. Around the plaza, many pairs of eyes couldn't help but gleam as they gazed at the two slender figures. Both girls were stunning, yet their different auras made them uniquely captivating. When Qingxian, with a battle spear in hand, her golden armor wrapped around her graceful form, long hair cascading down her slender waist. Her sharp, elongated phoenix eyes sparkled with coldness and pride. At this moment, she seemed like a female war god, radiating a fierce, battle-ready energy. Luo Li stood with poise, her longsword tilted at an angle. Her dark blue dress hugged her soft body, accentuating her curves. Luo Li's appearance was exquisite, but it was her glass-like eyes that truly mesmerized people. Clear and untainted, they held an enchanting allure that made anyone who stared at them feel spellbound. Her battle intent was not as intense as Wen Qingxian's, but when her gaze slightly lowered, one could sense a fleeting coldness. The two girls stood on the shoulders of the wood god guard, their stunning poses causing many to swallow hard, jealousy rising in their hearts. How could Mu Chen be so fortunate? Heh, are you planning to let the girls take the front line? Blood Tiandu's gaze was fixed on Luo Li, an intense possessiveness flashing in his eyes. Then, he looked at Mu Chen behind them and sneered. However, Mu Chen paid no attention to his taunts, directly sitting cross-legged in midair, his expression indifferent. Blood Tiandu's eyes flashed with a cold light. He flicked his fingers, and a blood-red energy thread shot out, aimed straight at Mu Chen. Whoosh! A sharp sword light cut through the air, instantly severing the blood-red energy thread. Luo Li, with a delicate hand, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, glancing coolly at Blood Tiandu. "He's too busy to deal with you right now. If you want to fight, we can accommodate you." Blood Tiandu's expression darkened. "Humph. Big words. I know both of you are powerful, but do you really think you can stop all of us? Isn't that a little too unrealistic?" Wang Zhang snorted. "Ji Xin wouldn't dare speak to me like that here. What makes you so special? Since that's the case, we really should experience it for ourselves." Mou's eyes darkened. He glanced at Mu Chen, his mind already guessing something. With a flick of his sleeve, 3 streaks of light shot out. At the same time, behind him, Qin Feng and Lu Xiong also released 3 streaks of light from their sleeves. These 9 streaks of light surged forward, expanding rapidly into 9 human-shaped war puppets. The puppets appeared somewhat worn, their surfaces a faint blue-green, with deep, ghastly scars across their bodies. It seemed as though they had undergone a fierce battle in ancient times, leaving them somewhat damaged. However, despite their damaged appearance, there was an overwhelming force emanating from them, a power that, while not quite on the level of the Divine Wood Guard, was still strong enough to rival the spiritual energy tribulation level. So, Mou and his group were hiding this kind of trump card. Heh, this is all thanks to you guys. Though we didn't get the treasures from the Spirit Treasury Hall, we found these war puppets hidden in that forest. Mou said with a sinister smile. The war puppets, each with the strength of a spiritual energy tribulation, were formidable enough to face someone at the first Divine Soul tribulation level. No wonder Mou and his companions weren't particularly afraid when they previously encountered Mu Chen. It seemed they had this secret weapon up their sleeves. A pile of junk. No need to embarrass yourselves by showing it off. However, in response to their pride, when Qingxian simply gave a faint glance, her tone dismissive, which immediately turned Mou and the others' faces pale with anger. Since you're so confident in yourselves, why not show us what you've got? Shui Tiandu's eyes darkened. He stepped forward, and immediately, the blood-red spiritual energy howled out like a river of blood, filling the air with a strong, pungent smell. Wang Zhong also let out a low grunt, his own spiritual energy reaching its peak. Though weaker than Shui Tiandu's display, he still possessed the strength of the first Divine Soul tribulation. Mou and the others waved their sleeves, and the 9 war puppets, along with the Divine Wood Guard, stepped forward in unison. They formed a fan-shaped formation, surrounding Luo Li and Wen Qingxian. The people around the square held their breath, their hearts racing. They too were eager to see if these seemingly delicate girls could withstand such a formidable assault. The overwhelming spiritual energy surged like a storm. The powerful pressure of the energy forced those around the square to retreat, fearing they might be caught up in the imminent fierce battle. Xue Tiandu and Wang Zhong both unleashed their first divine soul tribulation powers, while Mou and his companions controlled the 9 war puppets and the divine wood guard, eyeing their targets with malicious intent. The fan-shaped encirclement pressed down on Luo Li and Wen Qingxian, an oppressive feeling that washed over them like a rising tide. Humph. In the face of this pressure, Wen Qingxian merely snorted coldly. Her jade hand gripped the battle spear, and brilliant golden light surged from her body. Amidst the golden light, a faint sound of phoenix cries could be heard. Luo Li's delicate face remained as serene as a quiet pond, but the Luo god sword in her hand rippled with subtle waves. A sharp and indescribable sword intent radiated from her, causing the surrounding space to shimmer with ripples. Attack! Xue Tiandu's crimson eyes locked onto the 2 girls, and with a low shout, the battle began. Boom! A surge of spiritual energy erupted violently, like a volcano. The 3 divine wood guards led the charge, their massive steps shaking the ground. Their enormous fists, glowing with a deep green light, exploded through the air and slammed towards the 2 girls, who were standing on the shoulders of another divine wood guard. Buzz! A clear and melodious sound of a sword hum rang through the air, and everyone could see a blindingly bright sword light burst forth from where Luo Li stood. The sword light radiated an unyielding sword intent that seemed capable of piercing the heavens themselves. Swish! The sword light condensed and transformed into 3 enormous sword shadows, each around 100 feet long. Luo Li's previously tied-up long hair fell, flowing like a galaxy down her slender waist. Her jade hand formed a sword seal, and her clear, glass-like eyes seemed to contain an entire river of swords flowing within them. Luo Li's elegant jade-like fingers pointed into the air, and 3 sword shadows, each 100 feet long, immediately let out a piercing howl as they tore through the space. When they appeared, it was beneath the enormous fist of the 3 divine wood guards, and then they struck fiercely. Boom! The massive fists collided heavily with the sword shadows, unleashing fierce sword chi that wreaked havoc, distorting the very fabric of the space around them. As the sword chi dissipated, the 3 advancing bodies of the divine wood guards had been halted, their iron-like fists marred by deep sword scars. Fortunately, these divine wood guards lacked any sense of pain. Otherwise, any ordinary individual would have been bleeding profusely by now. Around the plaza, those witnessing this event couldn't help but widen their eyes in surprise as they turned to behold the slender figure of Luo Li, their expressions filled with awe. Here were 3 divine wood guards with strength comparable to that of the first divine soul tribulation, yet they were now halted by a single sword strike from Luo Li, who had prevented their massive bodies from advancing even a single step. Some people quietly gasped, recalling how they had previously witnessed Mu Chen's overwhelming strength. They had also heard of Wen Qingxuan's reputation, which made them wary, but none would have expected that this beautiful girl, who usually followed Mu Chen quietly, possessed such terrifying power. From a certain perspective, her earlier move was even more forceful than Mu Chen's. In the back, Blood Tiandu, Wang Zhong, and Mou were equally startled by Luo Li's fierce assault. Gritting his teeth, Mou commanded 9 war puppets to shoot out, each wielding a battle spear that flickered like streams of light, charging towards Luo Li in a torrential downpour of attacks. I told you not to bring out these useless things to embarrass yourselves. However, just as the 9 war puppets were about to charge, a cold voice rang out. Brilliant golden light surged forth, and a golden battle spear shot out like a golden phoenix. The spear was imbued with overwhelming spiritual energy, glowing sharply as it punctured one of the war puppets, sending it flying with a terrifying force, while the residual shockwaves scattered the remaining 8 war puppets. Bang! The pierced war puppet flew backward and fell helplessly to the ground, utterly destroyed as its spiritual energy was expended. Swish! The golden battle spear returned, landing in Wen Qingxuan's jade hand. She cast a cold glance with her striking eyes at Blood Tiandu and the others behind her. Blood Tiandu's expression darkened. His spiritual energy had reached a peak, and his eyes blazed crimson as he clenched his hand, summoning a blood-red long spear that dripped with blood as if it were still fresh. A chilling aura radiated from it. Thud! Blood Tiandu stomped down heavily, causing the air beneath him to explode, and in an instant, he appeared in front of Wen Qingxian with astounding speed, his blood-red spear viciously aimed at her slender, pale neck. Humph! Wen Qingxian snorted coldly. Faced with Blood Tiandu's fierce strike, she did not retreat at all. With a flick of her hand, the golden battle spear thrust forward, radiating golden light with the illusion of a phoenix shimmering within it, completely dominant. Clang! The spear tips collided with precision, sending ripples of energy swirling out into the void, causing the air around them to explode in layers. Blood Tiandu's expression grew serious as he sensed the overwhelming spiritual energy contained within the golden battle spear. Even with all his might, he found himself unable to budge it in the slightest. The girl's strength exceeded his expectations. His eyes flickered, and blood light emerged as his figure eerily vanished. Swish! When he reappeared, he was like a specter behind when Qin Xian, thrusting his spear with tremendous speed, aimed directly at her back. Whoosh! The spear pierced through Qin Xuan's back but drew no blood. The enchanting figure began to fade away. A shadow. Blood Tiandu's pupils constricted sharply. Qin Xuan's speed was astonishing, even faster than his blood god shadow. Boom! A dominating gust of wind swept in from behind, and in a panic, Blood Tiandu quickly flipped around to defend, crossing his spear in front of him to block the incoming golden battle spear that swept towards him like a club. Sparks flew as an incredibly powerful force surged from the spear, causing Blood Tiandu's tiger claws to ache intensely. His body was violently thrown back several hundred feet before he finally stabilized himself. An uproar erupted around him. Blood Tiandu's strength had been witnessed firsthand by everyone during his battle with Mu Chen. Even Mu Chen, in order to gain the upper hand, had to engage in a fierce struggle. However, now, in just the first exchange, when Qin Xian had already gained the upper hand, this former number one on the score ranking was truly deserving of her reputation. When Qin Xian forced Blood Tiandu back but remained floating in the air, her stunning face was now filled with a fierce battle intent. Her golden armor gleamed with dazzling light, and the pride in her phoenix-like eyes made her look like a living female war god. She was both captivating and intimidating, commanding awe and making one hesitate to disrespect her. She gazed at Blood Tiandu, her red lips curling slightly. However, a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. Blood Tiandu's strength was somewhat beyond her expectations. No wonder he had been hard for Mu Chen to deal with earlier. This guy's power seemed to exceed that of an ordinary first divine soul tribulation. Blood Tiandu remained expressionless. He loosened his somewhat numb hand, then gripped his crimson spear again. A vicious, bloodthirsty gleam appeared in his eyes. Everyone, stop holding back. They're stalling for time to prepare a killing blow for Mu Chen. Blood Tiandu's voice was cold. Upon hearing this, Wang Zhong and the others turned their attention to the area behind them. Sure enough, they saw terrifying spiritual energy fluctuations emanating from the sky where Mu Chen had been. Lines of complex lights intertwined, clearly the embryonic form of a formidable spirit array. It's the thousand-sword spirit array. Mou's expression changed, gritting his teeth. He knew that before entering the Wood God Temple ruins, Mu Chen had obtained a powerful spirit array diagram. If that array was fully deployed, its power would undoubtedly be formidable. Let's go all out. The three of them exchanged glances, their sleeves flicking. Three divine Wood Guards charged forward recklessly once more. This time, they had no defense, attacking desperately, even at the risk of being destroyed. Their goal was to wear out Luo Li and Qin Xian. Meanwhile, the other 8 war puppets also charged forward, their attacks ferocious. Faced with these relentless combat machines, Luo Li and Qin Xian were momentarily entangled. Blood Tiandu and the others watched the battle, suddenly forming seals with both hands. Their handprints shifted rapidly in an astonishing display. Dense blue light suddenly spread from their palms, emitting an astonishing energy fluctuation. That's Wu Yingying. Seeing the immense energy surrounding the three of them, focused her gaze, her eyes narrowing in seriousness. These three are actually using divine arts? And their divine arts share similarities, so that's their plan. Wu Yingying's brows furrowed slightly as she understood their intentions, and her face grew even more solemn. Boom, boom. A series of violent spiritual energy blasts erupted from Blood Tiandu and his companions. In the next instant, their eyes became sharp, and they slapped their palms forward. Brilliant blue light engulfed the heavens and earth, surging toward the two women. At the same time, their low, thunderous shouts echoed through the air. Lesser divine art, dragon binding divine pillar. Lesser divine art, celestial wood mountain. Lesser divine art, god restraining wood vine. A shocking spiritual energy fluctuation exploded from the sky. The terrifying attack created a spiritual pressure so overwhelming that the air seemed to freeze. The crowd around the square was visibly shaken. They actually unleashed 3 lesser divine arts. Someone exclaimed in shock. The people here knew well the power of divine arts, as they were typically reserved for supreme powerhouses. Each divine art possessed immense power, far surpassing the so-called top-tier divine techniques. Of course, divine arts were extremely rare, and obtaining them was not easy. Those who had them usually kept them as their trump card, to be used at critical moments for a game-changing effect. So when they saw Blood Tiandu, Wang Zhong, and the others unleash 3 lesser divine arts at the same time, they were utterly stunned. However, why does the minor divine technique they're using seem to have similar fluctuations? Some of the sharp-eyed individuals among the crowd immediately noticed that the minor divine techniques used by the 3 seemed to originate from the same source, causing them to voice their confusion. Wu Yingying and the people from the 4 Seas Spiritual Academy had no doubts about it. They knew that the minor divine techniques were certainly acquired by Blood Tiandu and his group from the Divine Wood Steel. When they obtained the Divine Wood Steel, they also gained a cultivation method for a minor divine technique from the Wood Divine Temple. Though this level of divine technique was of immense help to them, divine techniques were generally only within the reach of supreme powerhouses. While they could barely use it and could not unleash its full power, the mere fact that they wielded a divine technique, something from a special realm, was enough to allow them to easily defeat opponents of the same level. At this moment, Luo Li and Wen Qingxian were being held back by 3 Wood Divine Guards and 8 war puppets, caught up in a fierce offensive. Both women also sensed the powerful surge of energy accumulating and immediately narrowed their eyes. Their current situation was not ideal. If it were one-on-one, they could easily crush anyone, even Blood Tiandu if they truly decided to act. Not even he could stop them. But the current battle was far from a fair duel. The enemy's lineup was powerful, and they were no pushovers. Although they had a Wood Divine Guard assisting them, their forces were still a bit too weak. Has that slowpoke finished yet? If he pisses me off, I won't leave him anything. When Qingxuan's brows furrowed as she gritted her teeth. She glanced back at Mu Chun, who was still calmly sitting in midair. Around him, an enormous spirit array was gradually taking shape, but it was clear that the array hadn't yet been fully constructed. Boom! A loud noise suddenly echoed. The 3 of Blood Tiandu raised their hands, and a brilliant green light erupted from their hand seals. The green light shot up into the sky, filling the entire area. Everyone looked up, their eyes filled with shock. Above the 3 of Blood Tiandu, an immense spiritual energy, like a massive ocean, gathered. The energy had a bluish-green hue, brimming with vitality. But beneath that, there was a hidden sharpness, like thin leaves fluttering gently down only to strike with the ferocity of a blade. Boom! As the spiritual energy vibrated, a massive, several hundred-foot-high green mountain appeared. The mountain was covered in ancient tree-like patterns, resembling a living tree mountain. In the blink of an eye, it shot forward, appearing directly above Luo Li and Wen Qingxian. The shadow cast by the mountain immediately enveloped them, and then slammed down with tremendous force. Bang! 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 The air erupted as invisible blasts of air descended, creating deep craters in the earth below. Roar! The green light seemed to transform into a giant dragon pillar. Its body was straight, and at the top was the shape of a dragon's head. From its roar came sound waves that were powerful enough to shatter anything in its path. Whoosh! A nearly 1,000-foot-long green vine shot past, resembling an enormous, unseen serpent, twisting and coiling in ways that made it impossible to predict its attack path. Once it entangled someone, even a master at the first divine soul tribulation level would find it nearly impossible to escape. 3 overwhelming assaults came from above, middle, and below, heading straight for Luo Li and Wen Qingxian. Under this onslaught, they had no way to retreat. Everyone held their breath, not daring to make a sound. Luo Li and Wen Qingxian exchanged glances, their eyes cold. "I'll defend, you attack," Wen Qingxian said with a sharp tone. She knew that Luo Li's strength was far beyond what it seemed. With the Luo God sword in her hand, an authentic divine artifact, and not just an ordinary one, although it seemed sealed at the moment. Even so, Luo Li's combat power would be terrifying. Understood. Luo Li nodded slightly. Wen Qingxian released her war spear, and golden spiritual energy surged around her. With lightning speed, her delicate hands formed seals, and a clear, melodious phoenix cry rang out. Suddenly, a massive pair of golden phoenix wings, about 100 feet wide, emerged from Wen Qingxuan's body. The wings closed together, forming a golden shield in front of them. Boom, boom. The 3 wood divine guards and 8 war puppets under Wen Qingxuan's obstruction of the wood god guards. Luo Li's jade foot tapped the ground, and her delicate figure swept up onto the head of one of the wood god guards above Mu Chen. In her jade hand, the Luo god sword burst with an extreme, blinding sword light. She gripped the sword hilt tightly with both hands, her jade arms raised high, her sleeves sliding off, revealing a slender, snow-white arm that dazzled more than the sword light itself. At this moment, Luo Li's delicate face became somewhat more serious. She lightly bit her red lips, and in the next instant, a sharp flash of sword light appeared in her glassy eyes. She swung the Luo god sword down forcefully, and her clear, cold voice echoed across the heavens and earth. Luo god sword art. One sword strikes Luo River. Swish. With a swing, the originally dazzling sword light compressed at an astonishing speed, eventually condensing into a small, roughly 1-yard-long beam at the tip of the sword. With a sharp hiss, it shot out. The space ahead was torn apart, leaving a dark trace. The sword energy, about 1 yard long, swept silently through the air, moving so fast it was indescribable. Even those as powerful as Blood Tian Du and the others could only catch a glimpse of the light before their skin suddenly chilled. SSSS. The sword light flashed across the sky. The once imposing emerald tree mountain froze for a moment, and everyone watched as a crack appeared in the mountain's body. With a loud crash, the mountain split in two, the broken edge smooth as a mirror. Roar. The dragon-shaped wood pillar also let out a roar. The green light spread, and it too was split in half. Crack, crack. The endless green wooden vines snapped and broke into countless pieces, bursting into a shower of light spots. Wang Zhong, Mou, and the others looked horrified. Blood Tian Du's gaze darkened, but unlike Wang Zhong and the others, he wasn't as startled. With a wave of his sleeve, a blood-red spiritual power swept forward, forming a blood river barrier ahead. Boom. The blood-red barrier suddenly made a loud sound, as if it had been severed, and a beam of light shot through the blood river. It finally dissipated when it was only about 10 yards away from Blood Tian Du and the others. The violent spiritual energy fluctuations in the sky quietly disappeared. Everyone silently swallowed, their eyes filled with shock as they looked at the slender figure of the young girl in the distance. The lesser divine art, which had been cast by Blood Tian Du and the others, was completely stopped by her alone? Damn it. Wang Zhong gritted his teeth, still a bit shaken. Even if a powerhouse at the first divine soul tribulation level faced such an attack, they would have to retreat. But this Luo Li, despite being only at the spiritual tribulation level, was terrifying. She's not that easy to deal with. Blood Tian Du said coldly. What should we do then? Wang Zhong asked, unable to hold back. They couldn't afford to delay any longer, because the spiritual array set up by Mu Chen behind them was nearly complete. They sensed a terrifying danger from it. If they didn't defeat Luo Li and the 2 girls and stop Mu Chen now, their situation would be extremely dire. Self-destruct the wood god guards. A fierce look flashed in Blood Tian Du's eyes as he spoke coldly. Wang Zhong and Mou were stunned, then a look of intense heartache appeared in their eyes. Those wood god guards were comparable to a first divine soul tribulation powerhouse. They were going to self-destruct them? What a waste. If you don't want to do that, then just escape. Blood Tian Du sneered. Wang Zhong and Mou exchanged a glance, then, after gritting their teeth, they both made up their minds. At this point, there was no turning back. Mu Chen and his team had many valuable treasures. Defeating them and claiming the spoils would more than make up for their losses. Let's go, they said firmly. Boom. The 3 wood god guards shot out once more. This time, however, glowing patterns appeared on their massive bodies. These patterns spread across their forms, and as the light radiated, an extremely violent spiritual energy surge exploded, like a volcanic eruption. Everyone's expressions changed dramatically. These 3 lunatics are really going to self-destruct the wood god guards? Someone exclaimed in terror. Those wood god guards were equivalent to the first divine soul tribulation level. If they self-destructed, the power would be unimaginable. Luo Li and Wen Qingxuan's faces slightly changed. If it were a usual situation, they would simply dodge this kind of reckless act. Luo Li's jade-like hand couldn't help but tighten around the Luo god sword. On her hand, faint azure veins appeared. Bastard, enough is enough. I'll deal with them. When Qin Xian gritted her teeth, there was no time to wait any longer. Although she was reluctant to reveal some of her hidden cards, at this point, she had no other choice. Wait. But just as she was about to act, Luo Li suddenly stretched out her jade hand to stop her.